Madam Chair, right behind me we do have the Attorney General. If you'd allow me to introduce our special guest, we have joining me here at the table, of course, our Governor, Susana Martinez. I have Attorney General behind me over here, Gary King, and also J.N. Sepich joining me here at the table, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, Senate Bill 365, it's very appropriate that we have that number on this bill, Madam Chair, because for the last 7 years, 365 days a year, the Sepich family has been working on Katie's Law. And as you know, in 2006 we passed the original Katie's Law, and we have had tremendous success since that time, and now we are asking to enhance Katie's Law. We're very proud that in New Mexico we have matched 177 crimes to those that have been arrested under Katie's Law. But how many murders and rapists remain unidentified because we do not take DNA on all felony arrests? 12 other states have laws mandating that DNA be taken upon all felony arrests, and their results have been extraordinary. California takes DNA upon arrest for all felony crimes and is matching an average of 1 crime per day to their database. Just this month in California, Shelby Glenn Shamblin was arrested for the murder of Elizabeth Crossman after his DNA was taken for a drug arrest matched crime scene evidence. Also in California, a man arrested for receiving stolen property has his DNA matched the 1977 rape and murder of an 80-year-old woman. Virginia takes DNA on all felony arrests. There's a man arrested for obtaining money by false pretense, was swabbed, and his DNA matched a 1991 violent beating homicide of a 53-year-old woman. Drug possession, receiving stolen property, obtaining money by false pretense, these are arrests that identified murderers. No one should get away with murder. In New Mexico, these 3 murders would have not been identified. We do not tend to think that those arrested for non-violent crimes are those who are committing the most hideous acts. But thinking that is simply wrong. In Colorado, Michael Lolis was convicted of 9 sexual assaults, 6 kidnappings, 3 robberies, and 1 attempted sexual assault. He was identified later after his DNA was taken for a forgery conviction. 6 sexual assaults, 5 kidnappings, 3 robberies would have been prevented if his DNA would have been taken upon his first arrest for forgery. Theodore Castillo was convicted of 8 sexual assaults. Had his DNA been taken on his first felony arrest for theft by receiving 7 of the 8 sexual assaults would have been prevented. New Mexico has been a leader in using DNA technology. Now 12 other states are taking DNA for all felony arrests. These states are seeing tremendous results, solving more crimes, preventing more crimes, saving lives. We need to pass Senate Bill 365 and maximize the power of DNA here in New Mexico and send a message to criminals that they are not welcome in the state of New Mexico. Madam Chair, I'd like to pass this to J.N. Sepich for her presentation.
Welcome. Hi. Madam Chairman, members of the committee, thank you so much for allowing me to talk to you today about this very important legislation. You just heard from Senator Asbill why it is so important that we take DNA from all felony arrests. How other states are discovering that we are identifying and stopping murderers and rapists by taking DNA on all felony arrests. It's very important that you understand what DNA databases can do and what they cannot do. It's absolutely true that using DNA databases and taking DNA from all felony arrestees can solve crimes, and this brings much needed healing and justice and peace of mind to crime victims. It can also identify criminals sooner, preventing them from murdering and raping, and that means it absolutely can prevent crimes and save lives. It also means that the innocent can be exonerated. If DNA is taken upon felony arrest, we realize that these people are innocent very early on, so they are not harassed, they are not humiliated, they are not falsely accused or even falsely convicted. And I think that's very important as well. It's also important to know what DNA databases cannot do. First of all, DNA is not placed into the database. A DNA profile is placed into the DNA database. And there's a huge difference between DNA and a DNA profile. The DNA strand itself has over 3 billion markers or locations. 3 billion. One of those markers says that I have blue eyes. One of those markers says that I'm a brunette. The DNA profile only utilizes 13 of those markers in numeric form. And those 13 were specifically identified by genetic scientists for very good reason. One of those markers tells us gender, male or female. The other 12 of those markers have absolutely no genetic information. A very, very renowned genetic scientist explained it to me like this. He asked me if I knew what a 33 RPM vinyl record looks like, and yes, I do. I had it in high school. He said, if you look at that 33 RPM vinyl record, you can see the bands where the music is. And when you put the needle down on those bands, you hear music. But in between those bands of music are blank spaces. Put the needle down there and there's no music. He said that's like the DNA strand. The markers that have the genetic information are where the music is playing. The spaces in between the bands of music is where there's no genetic information. And those are the markers that were specifically selected to be put into the DNA database. A DNA profile cannot identify genetic traits other than gender. A DNA profile cannot reveal any medical information. DNA profiles were designed thoughtfully and purposefully to contain absolutely no genetic or personal information. A DNA profile is no more invasive of privacy, no more a violation of civil liberties than a fingerprint. It's just more accurate. And in some ways, the DNA profile guards privacy more. Fingerprints become part of the permanent arrest record. DNA profiles do not. Fingerprints are not expunged. A DNA profile can be expunged if someone is found innocent. But what the DNA database can do is truly wonderful. It can identify and stop criminals before they rape, before they murder again and again. I have thought many times, as Katie's mother, how important it would be to me, to her father, to her sister and brother, to all those who loved her, if a law had been passed that would have saved her life. Now we know there's nothing we can do for Katie. We can't bring Katie back. But we can pass this law. It can save many lives. It will. If we do not use the power of DNA in this manner, if we do not pass this law, in the months and the years to come, we will look back and we will know the names, the faces, the stories of those that could have been saved. We will know who they are. And their mothers and fathers will know that they could have been saved. That's a burden I'm not willing to bear. If we do pass this law, we will begin to save those lives. And we will never know which lives have been saved. We'll never know. But I think that's the blessing, and I think that's a blessing we all can share. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, I'd like to yield to Senator Mary Kay Papin, who is my co-sponsor on this bill.
Madam Chair, I just would like to reiterate everything that Jan has said. We did pass this bill before in a more modified form, and Jan has gone around the country, and many other states have now passed the bill in this more enhanced, yes, thank you, in this more enhanced form. And I guess as the mother of 2 daughters, I look at it and I think if my daughters